Hi, my name is Matthew Rempel, and I'm the lead social enterprise coach with Strategy Made Simple. Today, we're going to be talking about the definition of social enterprise. Welcome to Strategy Made Simple. As with any industry, there are going to be multiple layers to the definition. And the definition changes based on location and context. So check with your local experts to see how your business might fit in with the social enterprise definition. But in general, the broad sense of a social enterprise definition is that it is a business that trades goods or services, is mission focused, and puts at least half of the profits that it earns back towards achieving that mission. A thing that I personally like to add on to that definition of social enterprise is that a social enterprise is a business that applies a market solution to a societal problem. If you're looking for the most basic definition, we're done here. You're good. Go on, send this off to somebody else who's wondering. But for more detail, I talked with 4 industry experts in certification for social enterprise. I spoke with Sophie Short from Social Enterprise Mark CIC in the UK, Elizabeth Chick from Buy Social Canada, Rebecca Dre from Buy Social USA and Society Profits US, and Amanda Kiesel from Good Market. Together with these 4, I was able to figure out the industry standard for what a definition of a social enterprise is. Along with interviews from those 4, I also looked up the Social Enterprise World Forum definition of a social enterprise. Now, social enterprise doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's mixed in with a whole bunch of other things, including nonprofits, standard businesses. Some countries have a different certification or a different legal structure for a social enterprise, where others don't. And so some organizations use something called the Concentric circle model, where they emphasize the contribution to the community as how central this business should be to the social economy. The social economy is another term that I'm going to be defining in a future video. Once that video is up and published, there'll be a link in the corner up here. So within this concentric circle model, social enterprise is at the center, considered to have the most contribution to community capital. It builds up the local community best because of its emphasis on the mission. Then, surrounding the social enterprises, you have local businesses, cooperatives, and social business. Those create some community capital, and so they're included in the model. And then other businesses, including regional, branch, franchise, the kinds of things you'd think of as standard business, are included in the outer circle. The emphasis for many of these certification agencies is that social enterprises and those certified as social enterprises should try to do business with other social enterprises when possible. If it's not, then they head further out in the circle to include the other people that are available, the local businesses, cooperative, and social businesses. And then if those are not available, they still do business with the wider community, with traditional business. But to create more community capital, we try to interconnect between social businesses. The reason I interviewed the certification agencies when looking for a definition is because the certification agencies have to be precise. They are trying to define the boundaries for what is a social enterprise and what is not. Certification is about hitting a standard, about knowing what you're getting when you're working with an organization, when you're working with a specific business. Certification is also about trust. Trust in the certifying agency, which hands off trust to the businesses that it certifies. So with that in mind, here is Elizabeth Chick with the Buy Social Canada definition of a social enterprise.
So at Buy Social Canada, our definition of a social enterprise is a business that sort of sells goods and services in the market, has a social, environmental, or cultural mission that's central to their work, and then they reinvest the majority of their profits back into that mission.
And here is Rebecca Dre explaining why the certification specifically matters.
When you are looking at B2B, when you're looking at something like social procurement, it's essential. Because the last thing anybody wants is to broker, as Buy Social USA, we don't want to broker a deal for a group of social enterprises to get a contract with a government, for example, and then see in the newspapers that actually those people use slave labor. I mean, who wants that? Nobody. And you would just destroy the whole ecosystem for social enterprise to do business and be trusted. And I think that's the piece that where some people feel that certification is too heavy-handed and they're like, why does it matter? Isn't it great that businesses are just doing good? And I'm like, yeah, it is great. But don't call yourself a social enterprise if you're not a social enterprise.
So those perspectives are from the North American certification agencies, but it applies broadly across the board with the people I spoke with. And when I'm working with social enterprises, I like to emphasize that we're trying to make everything align with the mission. It's not just about sending profits towards another nonprofit that's going to do the work, but instead, how can we build the mission into our operations so that simply by doing business, we are achieving that social goal? So with all of that in mind, here is the Social Enterprise World Forum characteristics of a social enterprise. A social enterprise is mission-focused, specific and measurable, often tied to a sustainable development goal or some other quantifiable metric. Its surplus or profits are reinvested back into the mission. They limit their owner draws, stockholding, and owner direction of the company. They also can include an asset lock, so that if the company stops operating, the assets go to another organization working on the same mission. The ownership is tied to the mission. Ownership is usually granted to nonprofits or charitable foundations that are in some way working towards the same mission, and it limits investor shareholding. An example includes the community interest companies in the UK, which allows for a maximum of 35% of shares to be held by investors. There's transparency in business practices. This includes fair wages and low pay differentials, low pay differences between top executives and frontline workers. There is a participatory decision structure and good employee benefit systems. There is primary income through trading goods and services. It's a business. They're not nonprofits that run primarily on grants, but instead sell products and services to customers. And finally, the asset lock. This prevents the assets of the company being distributed to other companies if it's purchased. If a social enterprise goes bankrupt, it ensures that any remaining assets goes to specific organizations that are working on the same goal, instead of being liquidated for investors. So there we have it. 6 elements that make up a definition for social enterprise. A little more complicated, but it goes into more detail, which is important for a developing industry. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Strategy Made Simple. I'd like to thank everybody who helped me put this episode together. Sophie Short, Elizabeth Chick, Rebecca Dre, and Amanda Kiesel. Thank you for being willing to be interviewed and for helping me put this together. I would also like to thank David LePage and Buy Social Canada for their image of the concentric circle diagram. It comes from the Marketplace Revolution, David LePage's newest book. If you'd like to learn more about Marketplace Revolution, there's a link in the description where you can get the book. This episode is sponsored by Strategy Made Simple workshops. Exploring Social Enterprise, a discovery workshop, is for people who are trying to figure out if social enterprise is right for you or your organization. For more information, you can click on the link below. We hold workshops fairly frequently, and if you'd like a private workshop, feel free to email me, matthew@strategymadesimple.ca. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns about this episode, please tweet at me, @MatthewRempel. Would you like to be updated when the next episode of Strategy Made Simple comes out? You can join our newsletter. There's a link below. Or you can join us at Social Economy Connect. Social Economy Connect is a network of people who are engaged in the social economy. From co-op practitioners to academics to people who are just exploring to see if social enterprise is right for them. This is a place to come with your questions, to come and talk with other experts. You can join us for free at socialeconomyconnect.com. And as you go to solve a social problem with a business model, keep it simple.